So I went out and bought me a new tool, one of which I've always wanted, which is a router plane. Now I bought a bench dog, so I did a lot of research on it and also read a lot of reviews, and everybody seemed to like it. And so far, I looked at it earlier and it seems to be pretty decent. So we're going to test it out here. We're going to go over everything right now. So it comes with the router plane itself, which the adjustment seems pretty good. I was playing around with it earlier. It seems to adjust all right, pretty decently. And then it comes with a fence. So I gotta get the other, which you can mount on either side. So if you were trying to do a groove or a rabbet or something like that. I also went ahead and bought another blade for it. It also comes with some instructions, and the box is pretty neat. But the only thing that I noticed that really, I thought was, and it's not even a problem, is if you take a look at this, you can see the manufacturing really wasn't all that great. You got some, I don't know really what you want to call this. The other side doesn't have it, but it's just this side right here. That's really the only defect that I noticed in this. And overall, it looks like a pretty good piece. It's got some blemishes on the knobs, which, it was $100 cheaper than the one that I wanted to get, and the one I wanted to get was actually sold out, and you were going to have to give them your email so they can notify you when it come in, but I didn't want to wait. I just wanted to get one, and of course this is just a copy off of a Lee Nelson, which they got it from Stanley. But overall, it seems like it's pretty decent. So I'm going to check the bottom, see if it's flat. I'm going to wipe all this grease off. And I'm sure I'm going to put this to use quite a bit. I like to build a lot of shelves and like to put dados in them to put the recess to shelves. But the thing about it is, this right here, I'm not going to say it's real sharp, but I am going to go ahead and take some sandpaper and round that over a little bit more. Now, as far as not perfectly flat, I can see that. So there's like a hump right here in this middle. It's got just a tad bit of a hump, not really much, just about a hair. If we take it this way, yeah, now this way it's all right. I'm going to test it out before I even start to try to grind the bottom of it to make it flat. Now I got it because I'm building some coffee tables, and I'm going to be using a mortise and tenon joint. So this is just a crude tenon here that I just did real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to shave it down to see what it does. Also, to make sure that the blade's sharp. If not, I'll sharpen it. I am going to make a base plate, which is going to be a little bit bigger for it, which I'll do later on. Right now, I just want to kind of test it out. Also, I'm going to be using it because, like I said, I might build some shelves. I got a project I want to build, like for a spice rack and a shelf for some collectibles and things like that. Well, if you look at inside this dado right here, now I created this dado here on the table saw with just a single blade, and you can see it has a bunch of grooves, and that's what I'm going to use to clean it up. Also, if you use a dado stack cutter, the same thing can happen, and you can also have high and low points in your dado or your rabbet. So the router plane is going to eliminate all of that. I used to use a chisel to try and clean all of this up, so what I'm going to do is this experiment here. This right here is a stop. Seems to adjust pretty good. So I'm just going to lock that in. Now I'm going to get a board for here so this way I can plane. Okay, now that I got it secured down, nothing fancy, I'm going to begin trying to see what this thing will do. I'm just going to take it off in small passes. Now this is an open throat, so that way you can see more of what you're doing. They also have a closed throat, but I wanted an open throat. Now the Lee Nelson, they had a closed throat, but I really didn't want the closed throat. I wanted the open throat. They were sold out. Like I said, this is $100 cheaper than some other ones that you can find. So let's go ahead and give this thing a try out. Like I said, I'm just taking some small shavings. This thing actually works pretty good so far. So now let's undo the screw and slow it down a little bit. Yeah, you really, now I'm just messing around with this, but you really don't want to come out through the back side of it. You do want to take the router and come back this way with it, because all you're going to do is get tear out. Especially now if you were covering this edge right here with another board, it's not going to matter. But if you were not covering this edge, then you don't want to tear out. So you know, so far this little thing does a pretty decent job. We are just going to move this down a little bit more. I still see some of the lines from the table saw. And this way, when you're using this, all your dados are going to be at the same depth. Now I do have some marks right here. I'm just going to use my pencil here, and you can see the little lines in there. Whereas if I go down here, you don't have those lines from the grooves. So I just need to adjust this down. Now, whenever you use a dado stack cutter or a saw blade or even a router, you can have high and low spots. This is what this router plane is going to do. It's going to even it out. Now, even though the base of this is just a hair off, it's probably not really going to affect too much what I'm doing right here. Now, this is the first time I've ever used one of these, and I really like it. So, you know, it does adjust really well. I will have to say that. But I really didn't know if I'd expect to have something that would not adjust. I'm taking off quite a bit there. Now the thing about it is I'll have to keep pressure on my left side. If I put pressure down, it's just going to tear out or not cut it right. Cut it uneven basically. So if I get tear out on this, it's not really that big a deal because, well, it's a tenon. Yeah, this is really going to come in handy for making everything more precise. And again, I'm only putting pressure on this side. I'm using this side just to pivot so I do my cut. And then when I build my bigger base, it's going to help eliminate a lot of that. I'll have more stability on the piece. So I put the fence on it, which, you know, I mean, it's not much of a fence, so it's not very big, but I'm just trying it out. By putting a base on it, I'll be able to put a bigger fence on it. So let's see what we get here. So I'm just cutting a groove into this, cutting it. Yeah, the blade could use a bit sharpening. Well, overall, I like the piece. I'm going to get a lot of good use out of it, I'm sure. It was worth saving the $100. Now, I've never used any of the inexpensive brands before, other than some of their other tools, hand planes. But as far as a router plane, I never have. So far, I do like this. Still, like I said, the only thing this thing had really, that really was which isn't even a problem, was the blemishes that it's got right here, where, you know, you put in your fence. Other than that, I would recommend it. I am going to go ahead and take the blade out and sharpen it a little bit better. That way in future use I'll have it. I am going to try and flatten out the base a little bit. So if you're looking to buy one, I do suggest this. It's a bench dog, and I'm sure that it's going to work really great for me. So until next time, I'm Edward Short, the Hoosier Craftsman. Happy and safe woodworking.